We don't have that in our budget? Dang it. All right, anyway, then I'll just move into the intro. Hi, welcome everybody. This is episode 1 in this crash course for first-time homebuyers looking to buy their first home. Yeah, if that sounds like you're in the right spot, but I recommend you watch the previous video if you haven't already. That's where I kind of introduce everything that's going to be covered in this series. If you're too lazy to watch that video, I'd like to introduce myself real quick again. My name is Christian. I'm your estate agent in Washington State.
And I work in the Puget Sound region, mainly in the cities of Gig Harbor and kind of surrounding areas, and then Seattle and the surrounding areas. So those are my 2 hometowns. Those are the ones I know the best, so I can give you the best advice on those. If you're an experienced homebuyer, which means you've done this once already, I encourage you to stick around because this is all a great refresher course for you then. And if not, if you're the expert, I'll have videos just for you back in the main channel. And if you're looking to sell your house, those are also in the main channel there. So just click on back and you'll find videos just for you. And if they're not there yet, they will be shortly.
This first episode will cover 2 major topics. Our first topic will be if you're financially and mentally prepared to become a homeowner. And if you're not, don't worry, the rest of the episodes are there for you as well. Don't feel like if you answered no to the questions I'll be asking you, you'll have to drop out. No, everything is here for educational reasons, and I want you to be there to learn and become an expert adult who's able to purchase their first home. All right, and the second topic is going to be over when it's best to remain a renter and when you should think about when it's best to be buying a house or becoming a homeowner. So those are our 2 big topics that we'll be going over in this episode. Before we begin, a word from our sponsor, me. Yeah, and I asked me to ask you to please subscribe to this channel. We're going to cover a lot more than just first-time homebuyer videos. We're going to be looking at how to sell your home, how to become an investor, and how to eventually become a developer. Yeah, we're going to be covering pro formas and all the fun math. So if you want to be informed that that's being released and that's the kind of content that's coming out, please subscribe. And of course, leave a comment down below and smash that thumbs up button. Well, just once, because it'll really help me with the YouTube algorithm. And I would be so grateful. And I'll also make content just for you if you ask nicely. So leave a comment down below that you want to see something like how to buy a home with 0 down. And I'll make that video just for you. So show me some love and I'll show some back. All right, that's it. Back to your regular scheduled program. All right, episode 1, introspection. Well, let's quickly define introspection before we jump in, just so you can understand what this episode is about. Introspection is defined as to be or not to be. That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. To die. To sleep. No more. And by sleep we mean to say the end. No more heartache, or 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation, devotedly to be wished. To die. To sleep. To sleep. Perchance to dream. Aye. There's the rub. Bad acting. Terrible accent. Well, who wrote this anyway? It's nothing to do about real estate. Bill who? Well, tell Bill he's fired. I'm fired. What? Okay, maybe not that much introspection is required, but a little bit of soul searching is recommended before buying a house. And why is that? Well, because most likely you're signing up for a 30-year fixed mortgage. Well, there's great things about that, but there's also the fact that this is a huge financial burden. You're essentially promising the lender, hey, I'm going to pay you back every month on time for 30 years. Wow. I mean, that's the most adult thing to do, next to paying your own taxes and saving for your own retirement. So I won't fault you if that sounds too scary and you want to remain Peter Pan for a little while longer. However, I do recommend that you work towards wanting to trade in your Tinkerbell for Ka-Chink-A-Chinkerbell. Oh. Sorry, I'm going to give you a second there for your eyes to roll back forward. There we go. The reason why I made that bad pun is because I'm trying out my new comedy stand-up routine. No, it's because it's a terrible segue into this point, and that's that homeowners have 40 times the net worth than renters do. And I want my millennials to get rich. Oh my god, will you stop with these bad jokes? Okay, yes, I promise. Until the next episode or the next joke. So what I hope is driving you to buying a house is not the whole FOMO or the fear of missing out that's going on right now, but it's because you're trying to make a financial savvy move. And you might ask yourself, well, if it's such a financial savvy move, why doesn't everybody do it? Well, the government did try to have everybody do it, and they got close. They got up to almost 70% of Americans into their own homes. And you know what happened was 2007, 2008, and the collapse of the housing market happened. That's because the government said, lenders, we want more people in their houses, please give them all loans, even if they can't pay them. And so they did, and then the next thing that happened was people didn't pay their loans, they bit off more than they could chew, and boom, the whole economy crashed, really. So I want to make sure that you're not... The risk that you're signing yourself up for is that if you don't pay off your mortgage, not only do you lose your home and everything you've been putting towards it, but it also damages your credit. You most likely, credit follows you for 7 years, most likely you won't be able to buy another home for 7 years. So please take that in consideration. With that said, I will try to teach you as much as I can in this series of videos. However, experience is the best teacher after all, so some things you'll just have to learn the hard way and through trial by fire. But at least you'll know those trials by fire are coming, so at least you're not taken unaware. With that said, let's move on to buyer's remorse. Because buyer's remorse, especially with property, is very real. And unlike an uncomfortable pair of shoes, you can't just exactly go back and get a refund. No, once the deed is in your name, it's yours and you're stuck with it, unless you go around and sell it. But if you sell it too soon after you buy it, you end up losing money. And on top of that, you're being charged monthly for something you don't like. So I hope to prepare you a little bit with this video on things you should be looking for before you leap into some piece of property. Remorse comes in two flavors. The first is subjective, which is you just personally don't like the property. You know, it's not defective or anything, it just doesn't match your lifestyle or your taste. And then second, there's objective remorse, which is it turns out it's going to be too much of a financial burden on you to either repair it or to fix things, or the mortgage is just way more than you bargained for. Like, you're living paycheck to paycheck now, and you thought, you want to cap out, buy the best home you can, and now you're dreading that rainy day. And that's the worst type of remorse, really. And that's really only the remorse that I can help you with, because I can't really help you with your personal taste. So let's go over some ways to avoid that objective remorse and to get you well situated in becoming an expert home buyer to know exactly what you're in for. So I'm going to be asking you some questions. These questions come in the form of a grueling exam designed to test your mettle, your character, and your fortitude. Yep, we're going to be testing your financial preparedness, your willingness to make lifestyle sacrifices, and your ability to make long-term commitments. I'll be asking you 7 questions, and after every question, I want you to answer yes, no, or maybe. Then after each question, I'll be expanding on why your answer is so important. But before we begin, why don't you grab a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper? And we'll begin then. Let the testing commence. All right, it's 5:30 Freckle. I think I've given you enough time. All right, question number 1. Do you have stable income? And to determine this, if you want to answer yes, no, or maybe, let's ask you first, do you see yourself having stable income in the foreseeable future? And it's hard to know, really, what the future holds. We don't have a crystal ball exactly, but you should at least feel comfortable that, yes, I think my income in the future is going to remain predictable. And then the second question, the two-parter here, is have you had stable income in the past? And more exactly, have you had stable income in the last 2 years? Because that's what lenders look at. They look into your past W-2s to determine your future. Ooh. So make sure you've had stable income in the last 2 years. And if you're on commission like I am, the lenders will average your 2 tax returns to determine your income level. Oh, big major butterflies. This question is more than just are you employed or not. This goes also to if you're thinking about starting a new career or switching careers or starting your own business. I know coming out of the pandemic, a lot of people are looking to leave their employer. So think about how that is going to be impacting your ability to get a mortgage, because if you don't have stable income going forward and you get a mortgage, you're going to lose your house. and your credit history, and the ability to buy again in the future. So don't do anything stupid. And if you did something in the past, like you've already started your business, you might have to wait a little bit to get that income level high enough where you'll qualify for a loan. So that's just a little caveat I like to bring up before we move on to our second question. All right, that first question wasn't so bad, right? Okay, on to number 2. Do you have any cash saved for your down payment? Yes, no, maybe? All right, I'll level with it here. It's a little bit of a trick question. It's more to test your character, because in all likelihood, you don't know how much you have to be saving towards a down payment in the first place. Like, how much house can you afford? So it's more to test your wherewithal, to see if you've been saving towards something that is not quite tangible, but it's something you really desire, nevertheless. So, have you done that yet? Question number 3. Are you comfortable managing debt? Yes? No? Maybe? Well, if you answered yes, chances are you've been paying off your monthly debt obligations on time, and you've been using your available credit wisely. Congratulations. You probably have a high credit score. And if you answered no, or maybe, it might mean that you have some outstanding credit card bills due, or you might be maxing out your monthly credit cards. If that's true, you'll have a lower credit score, and you might not be ready to take on the mortgage, which is the biggest debt you'll ever take. And that means you got to pay off that debt monthly. Otherwise, they'll come take your house away, and that's no fun. So you got to shapen up a little bit financially and get to at least a 700. So why 700? Well, a 700 credit score is what FICO considers a good credit score, and that means the better interest rates will be available to you. And now a 740 is when the best interest rates are available to you. Anything above is just like, okay, congratulations, stop bragging. Now, if you're in the position of trying to build your credit, or your spouse is trying to build their credit, or you don't even have any credit history, consider an Apple credit card. Not only do you have an Apple product, congratulations, but it's a great beginner card. It has relatively low requirements to apply for, and it's a good training card as long as you use it responsibly. So start with that, start building your credit, and then you can apply for a mortgage when you're ready and comfortable answering yes to this question. Question number 4. Do you have an emergency fund? Yes, you. Yes or no? Often mistaken as, this vacation is an emergency, thank you very much, fund. No, this is 3 to 6 months of living expenses set aside in case something goes wrong, like you get laid off or there's a medical emergency. And this is especially true for homeowners because there's, on average, well, last year, homeowners had to pay $3,200 in maintenance costs and an additional $1,600 in emergency fees. There's nothing worse than absolutely putting all your money to a house and you're at zero, and all of a sudden something goes wrong and you have to take out more credit card debt and get deeper in the hole because you couldn't put aside money into an emergency fund. So I want you to answer yes before you apply for that mortgage. Question number 5. Do you know how much home you can afford per month? Yes, no, maybe. If you answered yes, you do know how much home you can afford a month, well, congratulations, skip ahead. If you answered no or maybe, congratulations as well, because you're in the right spot. In a later episode, we'll be using some calculators to exactly find out how much home you can currently qualify for. But since we're not in that stage yet, why don't we first use your current rent to see how that impacts your budget and kind of use that as a finger in the air to determine how much home you can currently afford. Are you already stretched thin, or can you afford more? Don't worry if you answered no on this one currently. We'll be answering this question together in a later episode. Almost there, folks. Question number 6. Are you willing to make lifestyle sacrifices? Besides just the financial burden of a mortgage, there has to be some lifestyle sacrifices made when you get into your house. Either it's because you learn how to cook for yourself, meaning that you stop going out every weekday or every weekend, or you have to commute more, or you're spending your weekends maintaining the yard because it needs to be mowed, or blackberries keep growing, and you name it. Things that you don't like doing, but that have to be done because now you're a homeowner. Another component that comes with buying a home is how does it fit in your plans of starting a family or starting a business? You'll have to decide where to put all your life savings or your capital, your time, and where's all the money going for expenses? Is it going into the home or is it for the new business? Let me tell you from experience that this house that I'm sitting in right now was a foreclosure, and I put a lot of sweat equity in it. And it wasn't my first, rodeo, so I knew what I was doing, at least for the most part. And I still decided to do it with an 8-month-old, which is, come on. That was pretty stupid of my part. I wish somebody would tell me, you should actually go look for a house before your wife's pregnant. That way, you will actually have sleep, and you won't be forced into getting the extra bedroom that you really need because you finally want to sleep, being able to move at night. How about that? Yeah. So try to do things ahead of time, or you'll have to just strategically wait for a little bit before the time's right to continue moving forward. Last but not least, question number 7. Do you want to stay in the same area long term? A pretty simple question, maybe a little bit arbitrary. Let's say 5 or more years. And why 5? I'll get into that in a little bit later, but use that as a current starting ground. Have you considered raising a family? Have you considered retiring or growing old? Will your job make you move? Have you explored the environment, the climate, and the people? I know here in Western Washington, we have something called the seasonal affective disorder. And that's when people who move here are like, why is it so gray? It's bleak. It's constantly raining, but not enough where I can actually get wet. I'm so sad. I'm depressed. Where's my NBA team? Where's Bigfoot? I don't see the cast of Frasier or Grey's Anatomy anywhere. It wasn't filmed in Seattle? What? Now you have to make me learn hockey rules? Oh, man. Yeah. Sometimes it's best to actually rent in an area before you're deciding to buy.